Hi, welcome to the Wild Gut Project. My name is Carrie. This is all about being vegan on the LowFODMAP diet for irritable bowel syndrome. And today I've got a couple recipes for you, and one was a bit of an accident. So you might know a few weeks ago I made a recipe video for sourdough bread, and I'd been lucky enough to be given some sourdough starter, and then I'm ashamed to say neglected it and it died. It was no more. It just turned into like very sour, fruity goo that would not ferment anything. So yeah, lesson number one, you have to feed your sourdough at least once a week. But it does mean I have to make some more, and that means I can show you how to make your own sourdough starter from scratch. So first you're going to take some of your bread flour, strong white flour, made with either wheat or spelt, and weigh out about 1 ounce, and then you're going to pour in about 1 fluid ounce of water, so it's a 50-50 ratio, or 1-to-1, and you're just going to mix that up so it forms a thick kind of sticky paste, I guess. You don't want it to be too runny. And then you're going to cover this with either the lid, some cling film, or a paper towel here with a rubber band, and you're just going to set this aside on the counter, room temperature, to let it get fermenting with the yeast which naturally float around in the air. And then the next day you're going to basically do the same. There should be some signs of life, so some tiny bubbles should be forming, and you're going to measure out again 1 ounce of flour and then 1 ounce of water, and you're going to make that thick paste to then feed it, and you're going to do this about 2 or 3 times more until you get a really nice bubbling active starter, and that's how you make starter. So now you've got some homemade amazing sourdough starter, you're ready to start cooking, and I thought what better opportunity than to show you how to make some sourdough pizza that's vegan and low FODMAP. Pizza night! So please enjoy this recipe. Hello, so currently it's Friday evening and the sourdough is looking ready. I'll show you. So as you can see, it's got nice big bubbles in it. It's still nice and thick. It kind of reminds me a bit of that fluff marshmallow stuff, because when it goes too liquidy, that's when it started breaking down the gluten and it's gone too far. So this is a nice ripe smelling sourdough starter ready to make some poolish. So this is the same recipe as the one for just normal sourdough bread, but I'm going to use this to make a pizza tomorrow. I'm going to tie my hair back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a plastic tub, a nice big one, or with this much space, and just zero it off. So then I'm going to take 40 grams of starter. Ooh, look at that. It's crazy that it was just literally some flour and some water left with what was in the air. And then you have, here we go. So that's 40 grams. And then I'm going to add 140 grams of just plain flour. Strong white flour. There we go. And then I've already measured out 140 millilitres of water. And I'm writing this up on my blog, and I'll put ounces for people who use imperial measurements. And yeah, mixing that in. So now it just all needs to be mixed together. And that's your poolish. So the idea with this is you leave it for around 12 hours, so overnight. And then it's going to be halfway through its 24-hour feeding cycle. So the natural yeasts very quickly start digesting the flour, and after around 12 hours they'll be at their peak and they're really active, they've grown and reproduced, and that's a really good time to bake with it or make your dough. And after 24 hours it becomes really liquidy. You'll see kind of water or a liquid separated on top, and that's when the gluten's all been broken down and the bacteria and yeast start dying because they basically run out of stuff to eat. I have to say it's been very warm in London recently, so it's actually not that good for making sourdough because it means the yeast act very quickly, and it's a bit nicer if it's slower because then you don't have to knead it as much if you want to get a good rise. But because we're making pizza, we don't actually need a good rise, so for this it doesn't matter. There we go. So that's the poolish done. just going to pop the lid on. And this can just stay out on the counter. And then for the yeast, for the starter, this, I'm like happy with this, it's done. I'm just going to add in a little bit more flour. I'm going to give it a feed. And a little bit more water. I'm going to mix that in. So the thing with sourdough is you have to maintain the starter. So even if you're not baking, you still have to probably keep it in the fridge and feed it, which means tipping about half away and replacing that with fresh water and flour. Otherwise the yeast die, because that's what I did. I left it for too long. I think I left it for like 2 weeks, and it was just kind of liquid nothingness with nothing living in anymore. So that is fed. I'm going to pop that lid back on, and that can go in the fridge now so it doesn't grow as quickly. So now I'm going to see you in the morning along with the Polish to make our pizzas. Hello again, so it's a new day. The Polish has been fermenting away and it has lots of bubbles. So I'll show you. It's kind of gross here. So I'm going to take this Polish and I'm going to mix it with 350 grams of normal white, I mean you could use brown, wheat, strong bread flour, mixing it up. Strong white flour, which is bread flour. You could also use spelt, but it's only wheat and spelt which become low FODMAP through the sourdough fermentation, so unfortunately things like rye won't work. So I've levelled this off. I'm going to add 350. There we go. Simple. And then I'm going to add 10 grams of flour, 10 grams of salt. Lovely. And then I'm going to add in the sourdough. And then I'm just going to pour in 150 millilitres of the water. So you just want to use your hands, just get involved, start mixing it around. So that's our dough done. I'm just going to cover it with a tea towel, and that's going to have about 2 to 3 hours now. Hi, so my dough is ready. I kind of ended up leaving it overnight, so this is maybe more of an experiment. It's a bit of a long story. But I've got the oven on preheating around 7, gas mark 7, so really nice and hot. I've made the tomato sauce, which I did by first sauteing some oregano and some thyme, and you're just going to do that in a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm also adding in the dark green section of a spring onion and about 200 millilitres of tomato passata. And then I'm going to add in about 3 tomatoes, just the common type, which are FODMAP free, chopped up, and then stirring it all together, adding just a dash of salt. And then just to help with the acidity, I'm adding in a little bit of sugar as well. It just takes the edge off. And for some toppings, I'm just grilling some aubergine and courgette. Yeah, now I'm going to divide up the dough and put them into rounds to make pizzas. I'm going to get some flour. So this is about 800 grams. So I'm going to cut it up into tenths, so then it ends up being a nice low FODMAP portion. Yeah. So then with my eighths, I'm going to start rolling them up. So you can use a rolling pin, or I'm just using a big jar here, dusted with flour. I wonder if it'd be better to use gluten-free flour, because obviously this flour is not going to have a chance to be fermented. But once you have a shape you're happy with, you're going to lay it out on a flour dusted baking tray. So these are left for about 15 minutes for the dough to settle. And then after that 15-minute wait, you're going to put your sauce on top, some olives, maybe some grilled vegetables, which are low FODMAP, so I'm using aubergine and courgette. I've got some thinly sliced sun-dried tomatoes, and then I'm putting on some vegan cheese. And then I'm going to experiment a bit and use some grated potato, which I saw as a dairy-free suggestion online, so I thought I'd give it a go for you. No idea how it will turn out. So it's been about 15 minutes, but I want to see how it's getting on. Cool. I think that is good. When you're happy with your pizza, you can garnish it with some fresh herbs such as basil, some garlic infused olive oil, and a crack of pepper. And there you have some homemade low FODMAP sourdough vegan pizza. I've been trying this pizza for you. It's a hard job. It's good pizza. It's pizza. I tried the potato instead of cheese, and if I'm honest, I don't think it adds much. Like, it doesn't replace the cheese in any way. I think you'd be better off just having more sauce and no vegan cheese, and that would actually be really nice. Like, that's what I order in a pizza restaurant, kind of pre-FODMAP times anyway. I mean, the potato's not bad, it's just not cheesy. So good. As always, I would absolutely love to know if you give this recipe a go, and I'd be interested to know what your personal favourite low FODMAP toppings are for a pizza. I used to absolutely love having antipasti artichoke on pizza, and I've done it a few times since, and I just really cannot tolerate that high fructose, sadly. But now I really like to have capers and olives, just because they're quite like punchy with the flavours. Yeah, what are your favourite options? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I make a video every Sunday that's about being vegan, low FODMAP, so if you'd like to see more, please subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye!